I'll do it by myself. You're going to leave anyway. You don't really love me. I'm not good enough for you. I can't trust them. These statements, they share so much gold if we can learn to use them. But it's in that moment that you've got to be listening. Whatever that narrative is, that's the mirror. That's where the self-awareness is, and that's where the personal growth is that will set you free. What's up, and welcome to the Living Vision Show. I'm your host, Aaron Velky, and today we're going to talk about your walls. We're going to talk about your blocks, and we're going to talk about your fears. Recently, I was having a conversation with a client, and there was a lot of conflict. And what I've learned over more than a decade of coaching is how to navigate these blocks, these walls that we have emotionally, financially, in our enterprises, in our personal growth, how to navigate them in a way that allows you to grow and exceed beyond them. And today we're going to talk about the conflict that I had with a client yesterday so that you can see what this might mean for you. Then I want to give you some concrete tools so that you can lean onto your wall and start to punch through it. What I've found coaching high-level entrepreneurs with 5- and 6-figure coaching programs is that most of us want growth, but we're afraid of change. And the irony in that is not understated. There is a tremendous amount of comedy in that. We want to grow. And when pushed, when prodded, when asked, most of us deeply fear change. So we're going to talk about this experience that I've had. I've had a lot of conflict as a coach, not in an unhealthy way. My job is to create change. And if conflict is necessary to do that, I'm unafraid. That means sometimes we have hard conversations with clients or need to dig into things that are really scary and uncomfortable, whether it's our history, our beliefs, or our patterns. And in those moments, I have found a formula that allows for a really successful shift. And I want to help you have your shift, regardless of where you are, whether this is a personal problem that you're experiencing, a business problem, a money problem, a parenting problem. If you understand what's happening, you'll be equipped with tools to navigate it better. Story time. Bob is a client. We're going to call him Bob. Bob is a client who's tremendously talented, has amazing values, cares about his family, and works hard. Business is not growing, and he is burning out. Burnout can mean a lot of things. The way I define burnout is it is the contradiction of our goals and our values. They go in separate directions. And when we don't get our values, we start to misrepresent our goals. We lack the energy to really pursue them at a high level. So burnout is happening. And we hit a wall when we start to think about delegating and structuring the business, about building a team and leading. And the wall starts to get bumped into week after week after week after week after week. It's almost, I want you to imagine those like vacuum cleaner, like Roombas, right? The circular ones. And they go around the room. And when they get to a corner, right, they bump into the wall and then they rotate like 6 degrees and they bump into the wall and they rotate 6 degrees. It takes forever to get out of the corner because it's a robot. It's not looking. It's just bumping. So we keep bumping in the same corner. Same issue, same issue, same issue, same issue. And my job as a coach is to create movement, right? That's my responsibility. That's why people bring this on. That's why people bring the team to them. We want to move. We want to grow. Please help us. So if my responsibility is that, I'll try a different approach. And I've done this long enough. I got a lot of different approaches. I got a Batman utility belt full of approaches, but nothing's working. And months go by of no change. Like from the outside, these are things that have to happen to get Bob out of burnout, but they're not happening. And I'm asking questions. I'm digging in. I'm asking about patterns and traumas and parenthood and some of these different historical elements that might have created a belief that is in the way. Nothing is working. And yesterday, it finally came to a head where we had to have a conversation. After a series of text messages over this past weekend, that could be interpreted as disrespectful. I didn't take them that way, but they could be interpreted that way. And what I was reading in the text messages was someone in pain, right? Someone frustrated. And I just happened to get the blast, right? I've done that. When I get frustrated, I sometimes laser beam people too. It's something I've been working on. But here, it's unfolding, right? And as a coach, I've learned to distance myself appropriately so that I can understand what's happening and not get lost in the weeds. That's what perspective is for. That's what coaching is all about. So we have it out. And this conversation largely was, hey, something's in the way, Aaron, and I can't find it. I can't find it. And there's now emotion starting to build, and I'm starting to poke the bear a little bit more. We need emotion. Emotion is the catalyst for motion. So we need it. If you're flatlined and stale and monotonous, I know that there's no emotion, that you've probably suppressed it, because emotion is what we need to create change. I start poking and poking and poking. And eventually the conversation erupts. And again, I get blasted with a message that leads to a dialogue. But the message was interesting enough to want to share it with you today. I don't need to read it, but what I'll tell you is that the message I got said two things. One, I can't seem to find the problem. Where's the fucking problem? I don't know where the problem is. You keep saying all these things, but there's something in the way. What's in the way? That was number one, right? This frustration of like, I can't fix the problem, or I don't know what to do, right? That's loud. It was very loud in the message that I got. And then the second part of the message, the magic of the message, the magic of all of this, and what we're going to talk about today was this. I'll just go do it by myself. As simple as that statement is, it screams opportunity. He and I have a follow-up conversation yesterday. And I said to him, same thing I'll share here today. Hey, do you see the block? Do you see the wall? Do you see what's in the way? You asked and said, I can't find it. Where is it? Do you see it? In anger, in emotion, in frustration, sometimes that block reveals itself. That block is, I'll do it by myself. And let's really make this salient for you. What I want you to know is that when we say something like that out of anger, when we're in that moment of emotion, that statement is our subconscious programming. It's our default network. It's our basic settings in the background. It's our factory settings, if you will. I'll do it by myself. That is one that I've heard often. I've heard plenty of these. And again, I want you to think back to where you are, where your anger may be, because where your emotion is, there's also your factory setting. So maybe when you get angry, you say something like, you're going to leave anyway, or you don't really love me. I'm not good enough for you, right? These statements, they share so much gold if we can learn to use them. But it's in that moment that you've got to be listening. Bob and I had a phone call, and I had to be rather gentle about it and pointed to say, hey, this is the answer. This is it right here. When someone gets poked enough and starts to respond out of anger, they're not filtering anymore. You can get real truth. And that's sometimes important as a coach, that I've got to push you to the edge to where you start to open up and snap a little bit, because I can't get the answer. I can't find the truth. I can't find the wall. So we push and push and push until we find it. We found it. What this means for you is that your anger, your emotion, your emotional reaction specifically, something like anger, might, if not always, reveals your subconscious beliefs. And when someone is triggered, when someone is really heated, and if you are witness to this, or you can be aware of your own, you are putting a spotlight on something that they're struggling with internally. Right? Now that's my profession, my job. You don't have to be a wizard at this to do this, but it does take a little bit of awareness when we're in it, when I'm in it, to listen to that. And if you can listen to that and not judge the anger, but instead listen to the message underneath it, you might be able to find some absolute magic. It's like the neuroscience of emotional triggers. You're going to find the magic. So anytime you have someone in your life, an employee, a friend, a loved one, a partner that is angry or frustrated or hyper emotional, you're going to find what some of these baseline insecurities are. With Bob, as soon as I heard, I'll just do it by myself anyway. I don't think you want to help me or whatever the nuance of the language is. I know we found gold because there's a belief that's now loud front and center that wasn't available without the emotion, right? It was buried under justification and various excuses or structures to avoid having to deal with it. At the core, I think Bob is very afraid of trusting someone, maybe allowing someone to help him, or that he doesn't believe he's worthy of help and assistance. There's a whole lot that can go into that, but we found the tip of the spear, right? And now we can kind of march along the rest of it to figure out what's going on. Let's talk about this from a personal development side. When people are defensive, when anyone's defensive, the mode that I tend to snap into is that this is a really big opportunity, right? So, something is here. When someone puts a big shield up like that and blocks me out or pushes me away in a manner like that, I know we found the magic. Now, depending on whether or not they are respectful, I am more than happy to stand in that uncomfortable moment because I know what's going on. There's some kind of breach, some kind of block, and I'm the target. But it isn't about me. So I'm willing to stand in that. But I find that to be a fascinating part of personal development is that we're often making personal development about the best moments, not about the insecurities. Most of us can change our habits when we have energy and we're excited and all these. Yeah, we can get up early and cold plunge when we feel great. The goal is to cold plunge and do all this stuff when you don't, when you're triggered, when you're scared, when you're scarce. And when defensiveness shows up, all of the problem solving goes out, all of it. And that's why you need a coach at times. That's why I need a coach because I can't problem solve. I'm just emotional. And these flare-ups become great mirrors for where to grow. Sometimes we just need an outside source to remind us of that. When I experience conflict with a client or when I am feeling conflicted internally, if we can find that moment and the underpinning, the belief behind it, you can often find the absolute magic of change. Because when Bob, in this case, finally lets go of like, I have to do it myself. I just do it myself and welcomes helping, it will be the hardest change he has ever experienced because it will trigger all of his other insecurities. And that is his ticket to freedom. That's the magic of why these things show up. These mirrors, these reflections of us. I think if you are listening and there's conflict in your life right now, I would encourage you to look at the thing that you would say if it got escalated. What do you really want to say? What's your inner narrative say? Oh, this person doesn't care about me. Oh, this person ain't here to help me. I can't trust them. Whatever that narrative is, that's the mirror. That's where the self-awareness is, and that's where the personal growth is that will set you free. Because that belief, that programming is likely showing you exactly where your work is. When you hit the wall, first place to look is where defensiveness shows up.